Okay, looks like we're getting ready to get started here. For those of you new to my stream and what I do, my name is Nate. Hello. I am, for the sake of this conversation, with Cord Cutters. That's two Ks, not two Cs. Um, and ordinarily, I talk about cord cutting. And today shouldn't be any different. I'm interested in chatting with you guys about just about whatever you want to chat about. Possible topics that I think are pretty worthwhile in the news, or just because I'm interested in them, are media servers, or servers in general, or RAID arrays if you want to talk about that sort of geeky stuff. Or we can chat about DRM. You know, I'm pretty good either way. Chatting about whatever you want to chat about, it's fun by me. And let's see who's online. Looks like we've got three people watching so far, and one of them says dead air. Hello, Gold Rush One. Yep, sorry. I usually when I get started on these streams, I keep just a banner up just to get things going. Um, but now we're ready to roll. So ask your questions, guys, and I will try to answer them, or at least try to talk about them. And when you aren't asking questions. When you aren't asking questions, I will be. Uh, okay, good enough. Yeah. When you aren't asking questions, I will be playing some Minecraft. Um, just because that's really sort of what I'm doing here. All right, so here we are. If you guys are familiar with this is not your standard Minecraft. This is Minecraft Sky Factory. It's the living embodiment of weird Minecraft. Um, it's all about automation in this game, and building up a world from basically nothing. Literally just one tree and a piece of dirt. I'm excited about it. Um, let's see. All right, knocking all that out. Oh man, first question right out of the gate is sort of a personal one. What happened with Ned? Ned actually pops in sometimes when I do this. He could probably answer better than I if he pops in. Um, the simple answer is Ned's sort of taken a hiatus from cord cutters. And you know that's cool. That's his prerogative. Nobody has to do this stuff. It's more just fun for me. Um, but that's the very basic answer. Ned can tell you more if you want if he pops in. Uh, so what was it? What was my thinking when I was saying I want to talk about DRM? Um, so the reason I brought that up, the reason I was saying I wanted to talk about DRM, to you lucky individuals watching this. Oh shoot. Before I get too far into this, I do want to say one other thing. So I'm planning on doing this streaming thing where I play games and talk about whatever fairly frequently, from this point forward. But I'm sort of waffling about whether I only stream it or I then post it onto my YouTube channel after the fact as like a recording. I know a lot of people really only come onto Cord Cutters for like the channel proper, for actual news and information. And I don't think, much as I enjoy doing this stuff, I don't think it would be right for me to say that this is informative work that I'm doing playing video games. So I'd like your guys' input, and also I will post this one at least on my channel. I love the input of the community who watch it on whether I should post more of these actually on the channel, or if I should just leave it as a live video kind of thing, and otherwise don't put it on the channel at all. So your input in the comments, it would be much appreciated. Oh, only one tree. Okay. So DRM. It is one of the hardest things in open source world to talk about because everybody has very strong opinions about it. And that is, in my opinion, perfectly reasonable. It's a real, topic of a great deal of discussion and anger and unhappiness. And the funny thing is, a lot of people, when you're talking about DRM, they don't really know what you're talking about. Case in point. So this summer, we posted this blog post. Was it this summer? I think it was this summer. We made this blog post where we said Kodi is going to support DRM. And, almost every single comment. Yeah, Gold Rush. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If I'll post the videos, and if I get not very many views and also a lot of thumbs down, but no comments saying don't do this, then I probably still won't post it. But if I get, a fair number of views and, just a modicum of thumbs downs compared to thumbs up, I guess we'll call it a wash, and I'll keep posting. So we'll see how it goes. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, DRM. So there we go. That's nice. So we posted this article saying that we're going to support DRM, and everyone got all pissed off. And there were a lot of comments along the lines of please don't do this. And I was curious because I didn't know if the people knew what they were asking. And so with one person who said that, they said, please don't do this. I replied very specifically, and instead of disagreeing with them, I just said, don't do what exactly? Because what I was trying to get at, what I was trying to figure out was whether the person knew what this was, what it meant that they didn't want us to do. And needless to say, they didn't have an answer. They just kind of kept repeating, they kept repeating, please don't do this, and that was it. And I didn't know what it was they didn't want me to do. Oh yeah. Oh, Gold Rush 1. Yes. This is, I don't know what kind of Minecraft your kids play, but this is something called Sky Factory, which is pretty different. And I mean, like, really different. Like, the standard Minecraft doesn't have this whole side screen here, and it doesn't have all these things over here. And for one thing, it's not, set in the sky with no ground anywhere. It's just a wholly different beast in terms of what you actually do in the game. I'm gonna punch some more wood. And if you're into the Minecraft style game, I highly recommend it. It's a great deal of fun. Okay. All right. So, back on DRM. So once I had established that I wasn't totally sure if people knew what they were asking when they said, please don't do this, we sort of had an internal conversation, and we decided that from that point forward, sort of officially, like in blog posts and things, instead of saying we're going to support DRM, we decided to start saying we're going to support decryption. or encryption or video decryption or something like that. Because what we were saying when we said we were going to support what we were saying when we said we were going to support DRM was not that we were going to force people to encrypt their content or something. I don't even know what that would mean. What we meant was that we are going to start making it possible to use Netflix and Amazon Prime and theoretically HBO Go and all of those services within Kodi. What we're doing is we're not supporting DRM, frankly. That's not actually what we're doing. What we're doing is we're using the built-in powers of your OS, whatever OS you're using, and with those powers, we are learning how to decrypt the videos legally within the content providers like Netflix and those guys. And to do that is a lot of work, frankly. What we do is the provider. Oops, I need a light. The provider uses one of two encryption schemes. They use something called PlayReady, or they use something called. Oh man, I'm gonna look it up. I've already forgotten what it's called. Feel free to mention in the comments if you know exactly what it's called. Widevine. There are two encryption protocols called Widevine and PlayReady, and we're using Widevine to support decrypting content from directly within Kodi. Okay. No? Okay, I need a barrel. Sorry, some things I can't do while I'm thinking. Okay, so I need a barrel. Good. And that gets me dirt. Oh, and then I need to eat this water. Back onto this game, Gold Rush. Different server than the original. Sort of. It's a mod. So I'm playing it on Windows. And you can do this on any of the desktops. Windows, Mac, I think also Linux. But the original version of Minecraft is run using JavaScript. And it's very easy to modify the original code, so it does all kinds of weird stuff. So this is actually, what I've done is I've installed it on my computer, then I installed those very mods also on my computer, and then from there I can play it like this without needing a server anywhere at all. I don't, so I don't use a server in any way. No, don't rain. No. Okay, here. Okay, so what other things can I say about this idea that we had? If you have any questions about what I'm doing, I'm not going to bother explaining most of this stuff because it's kind of early game stuff. This is a compressed crook. It makes it easier to cut these trees for people. Oh yeah, no problem, Gold Rush. Gold Rush 1. What's the 1 for? Gold Rush I get. I don't know what the 1's about. Oh, I mean, you know what? Yesterday I did this. I think I'm going to do it again today. For any commenters who comment, I'd love to hear sort of what brings you here. Are you a Coda user yourself, or you use some other Media Center stuff? Sort of what brings you into the cord cutter world? I'm curious to hear. At some point, I kind of, like, oh man, I don't remember how long ago this was. Like 7 years ago now, I was writing a series of articles for the Kodi XPMC at the time blog post called Feature Friday, where I would have people submit pictures and tell me about their setup, and then I would do kind of a video, or no, a blog post series about their setups. I think it would be kind of fun to do the same thing in the YouTube world. Like, you guys could send me either videos or pictures or whatever you want, and then I could, set up a feature series and show people whatever your cool setup is. I might post that elsewhere so more people can hear about it. But that might be a fun thing to do. Anyone watching, if you're interested, let me know. I might set that up. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, now I need silk. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's not too dark. Let's see. So yes, so almost every system out there, and definitely Android and Windows and Mac and possibly iOS, all come with something called PlayReady, or Widevine built right into the systems. If you have, and if they're not built into the systems, usually if you've installed Google Chrome, the web browser, you had it installed at that time. Now I need to infect. Yeah, and so what Kodi does when we say it supports DRM is... good question, Gold Rush 1. I'll get into that in just a sec. So when we say we support DRM, what we're really saying is we're trying to bring those guys into the Kodi fold. We're trying to make it possible to play those things back in a legitimate and legal way. So the question in chat is, why would Kodi developers want to bring Netflix and HBO on board at all? After all, aren't those the guys trying to squash Kodi and the third-party community? Okay, so that covers sort of two different, extremely different topics. So first off, yes, Netflix et al. Are absolutely the guys trying to squash the third-party community. But Gold Rush, I gotta tell you, one of the groups trying to squash that community is Kodi. I can't say we dislike them as much as the service providers, but we are no lovers of the third-party piracy community. They are a huge drain on resources. They are liable to give users all kinds of lovely bugs or malware. Just this past year, one of the third-party add-on developers installed on people's Kodi boxes a Bitcoin mining service that mined Bitcoin for that developer. It was malware in the greatest sense. He says that he didn't really intend for it to be malware. He didn't realize how big of an issue it would be. And I believe it, because I think a lot of the third-party add-on developers really are just average Joes who kind of understand Python about as much as everybody who writes HTML pages understand HTML, JavaScript. And they know how to do this stuff enough so that they don't really know. Let's see. They don't really know why. It's not anymore. Image. They don't really know why it would be a problem to put a botnet on a group of people's computers. They probably don't even know that they are putting a botnet on those computers when they do. So Kodi developers are absolutely not fans of the third-party ecosystem. So when we hear about so when we hear about all of this stuff happening, all of these third-party services who are essentially giving Kodi this awful name in so many different ways. Not only awful in the sense that it makes it possible for users to pirate, but it also makes it possible for shady add-on developers to spread shady add-ons through our system that can infect an entire ecosystem. We tend to side with the legitimate providers out there in terms of not being fans of third-party add-ons. So that's sort of one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is if you take out the third-party add-ons, the group that we don't like, all that you have left in terms of service providers are legitimate ones. So, for example, within the Kodi ecosystem, there are all the add-ons that are built inside of Kodi's repo itself, like the Rooster Teeth add-on, or YouTube just generally, or MLB, that's Major League Baseball add-on, or most sports providers, which are all DRM free. They just require you to have a login so you can see the links. All those providers we support and have been supporting for sometimes going on almost a decade, and to some extent we view. The keyboard's acting kind of funny. To some extent, we view adding Netflix and HBO and those guys on board as just sort of the next step in the real evolution of Kodi, from just sort of a media center that can provide add-ons to a media center that can provide real legitimate content. Let's see. The third-party add-on guys, I think, hate that idea because they all really benefit from this idea that the only purpose for having a Kodi system in the first place is to be a big old pirate, and as long as they're making money off of that view, they're not going to do anything about, or they're going to actively push against this attempt at legitimizing the system. And so I'm expecting, especially when Kodi 18 comes out and you're able to install these add-ons like Netflix or HBO Go or Amazon Prime, I'm expecting a lot of the pirate guys to, especially the pirate YouTube guys or anybody who financially benefits from piracy, I'm expecting them to come out and say this is the worst thing they've ever heard of. Because, that it would be to their financial benefit to say exactly that. except for the few who are going to try to somehow profit off of these legitimate add-ons, of course. I don't know how they do that, but there are those who will try to do that too. So sorry, that's sort of a very, very long-winded answer. The developer base will find this stuff quickly, and the perpetrator will be affected in some way. That's not true, man. I mean, yeah, the people do find that stuff, but that doesn't matter. With most Kodi things, add-ons are automatically installed. So once something's found, if it's already been automatically installed in 10 million computers or set-top boxes, I mean, that's it. It's installed. It's done. It doesn't matter if they found it or not. But, you know, I mean, it's a debate. It's an ongoing debate amongst all the groups. It would be fun to play this via Retro Player. I agree, man. We, Retro Player is still set up in a way that it's not really set up to play actual PC games. It doesn't. There is a PC game launcher out there called. I forget what it's called. I never use it because it's a real hassle to use. And the computer I tend to use most, I use with a mouse, so I don't really need it. But I have considered doing that. I have considered doing this series once State of Decay is over, mind you. Not right now, but once State of Decay is over, I have considered just switching over purely to streaming old retro games on Retro Player, because I think that would be really cool. There are some old games that I've never beaten, you know, because I was 12 when they came out, that I'd love to give a second look at. In particular, the original Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 1, never beat it. Never in my whole life. And man, I'd love to. Oh man, Gold Rush Run. Who cares? The onus. You're all right. We're getting into it, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat what he said, just so the people who are only watching the video can follow along. I had said that once auto update's on and it's installed, then it's in people's computers and there's nothing we can do about it. And Gold Rush replied, it doesn't matter if people having disabled auto update, that's on them. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he that's fine. No, I got what you were saying, Gold Rush. Basically, people need to be smart when they're using Kodi. They shouldn't just have auto update on, especially if they're using third-party add-ons. And I agree. That would be it would be a wonderful world if that was the way it was. But the reality is, if you are working customer support for Kodi, and once again, everyone working customer support for Kodi is doing so as a volunteer, you don't get to deal with what would be nice. You get to deal with what's actually happening in the world. And what actually happens in the world is that never happens. The smart people are never the ones we care about because they're never the ones who come to us for technical support. The people who come to us for technical support are the very people who genuinely need technical support. They're the ones who go through life and they have these big problems. And as much as it would be fun to just say who cares about them, because I don't want to do that anymore. That's not how we do things. We operate under the assumption that everyone has the right to at least ask for support. And even if they don't, they're going to ask for support whether we want them to or not. And we sure don't want the forum clogged with people asking why did you install this botnet, which will then result in every news source in the country and the world at this point saying Kodi has installed a botnet. It's just horrible press all the way around as long as that kind of thing happens. Kodi was never meant to be for the instant gratification crowd. I hear you, man. I totally agree on that point. It's been a frustrating ride watching Kodi grow from 500,000 or so when I first got involved to the 20 or 30 million that's there now. It's really cool to have that many users, and it's really cool to be able to point to that many users and say, look at this, look at how many people love Kodi and use it every day, or tolerate Kodi but use it every day. That part's been really neat, but okay, 2 barrels is good. But there's certainly a group of developers and team members who really miss the old days when everyone who used Kodi actually had to install it themselves. Or in terms of the old Xbox, got somebody else to mod it for them, and they at least knew what modding an Xbox meant. These days, there's none of that. These days, you can buy, some cheap, shoddy Chinese knockoff off of Alibaba or eBay, and they'll, these days, because we're pretty aggressive with our trademark stance, they'll leave the word Kodi off of the sale, but they'll still be selling Kodi essentially. And when they do that, man, it results in all kinds of headaches for us. One guy, actually several people, have talked openly on the team in forums and everywhere. They've talked about just totally getting rid of Android support altogether just because they're so tired of that group of people. But I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. The having that many people who just don't know what they're doing sucks. But having that many people who just don't know what they're doing is really useful when you're trying to negotiate with people. When you're trying to go to, I don't know, what's an example? Last year, 2 years ago, I forget, a while ago, we had 2 official add-ons created by legitimate companies. They paid for all the development costs, and then they promoted it on all of their channels. And that would never have happened if we didn't have the installer base that we do. If we couldn't point to this huge group of people who are all Kodi users and say, look at all of these people. So I don't know. It's a tough one for sure. Furnace. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I don't know when you said that we should just shut off support for Android and then we wouldn't worry about it anymore. Well, I don't know if that happened before or after I said we've talked about just shutting off Android support, but that's funny that we said it possibly at the same time. All right. 1 torch on every corner. We got ourselves a nice little setup here. We are ready to roll on this thing. Oh man. When I support, oh sorry, you posted a couple comments. I only saw some of them. We can have a difference of opinion. Yeah, you encourage them to get smarter. Yeah, and I mean we do, but so I mean it's a question of scale. We have roughly 10 to 15 forum moderators, maybe fewer. More if you count developers, but you should never count a developer as a forum moderator unless you're a lunatic. We have, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's something insane. It's like 70,000 visits to the forum every single day. So the scale you're looking at is 70,000 people roughly. Some of them obviously are repeats, but still it's a large number against 15 forum moderators. And we can't hire more because we don't hire anybody. Everybody's volunteer. So it would be great. It would be great if we could encourage people to get smarter and give every one of them that walkthrough that would get them to the next step. But it's just not something that's going to happen. It's just not going to happen at all. And cutting out Android is also not something that's going to happen, because at the end of the day, as much as it's annoying that we have to deal with that many people, we like having that many users. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool thing to have so many users who all love Kodi. Oh, there they are. God. And even if tomorrow we said, you know what, done, no more Android. The simple fact of the matter is, it's GPL open source, and anything that is under the GPL means that it's never going away. Once it's out there, it's out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. And that's it. There's no more conversation. We can wish that it wasn't out there as much as we want, but it's always going to be out there, and people are always going to come to us for support for it. And that's the annoying reality of life. Shoot. Maybe annoying. Maybe good reality of life. I mean, like I said, there's a great deal of benefit to having this many users. It's a really kind of an awesome thing, just in terms of our ability to get to the table to talk about something like a Netflix add-on or an HBO add-on, or being able to go directly to the people at NVIDIA and say, our users really desperately want to have this kind of surround sound system, and Android doesn't really have it. And since you guys are a pretty big Android TV supporter, we want to work directly with you to support this surround sound system. It's really awesome. It's really super beneficial to have that ability to go up to hardware manufacturers who just don't care otherwise. And I'm back. Okay, evidently it was not a big deal. Let's see. The few problems I have had, I got from the internet, not from the Kodi forums. I always do my own work and research. You're an ideal user. You're exactly the guy we're looking for. If 99% of our users could be as awesome as you, that would be fantastic. Huh. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to sound... I haven't said this, but I want to say I don't want to sound like I'm complaining all that much, because honestly, I love it. I love this whole system we have. I love pretty much every aspect of working on Kodi stuff. I think it's just the coolest thing in the world that I get to be doing what it is that I'm doing. And so, if it sounds like I'm complaining, I apologize, because it is awesome. I should probably start out with that. The reason I say it the way I do is because I'm trying to explain why we make some of the decisions we make. Um, and a lot of the times it comes down to the fact that when you're making software, you really do have to operate on a least common denominator standpoint. You really do have to try to catch as many people as you possibly can because that's sort of the point of software. To some extent, when you're doing this sort of development, oops, so that's exactly what I wanted. When you're doing software development, you have sort of an obligation to the user to make the software as easy and usable as possible. And sometimes you even have an obligation to make it work the way they expect it to work. That's maybe a little bit more of a contentious argument than some of the other things I've said. But that obligation does sort of still exist. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there's ever going to be an answer to the question of just how lenient should Kodi be on new users and piracy and all of that stuff. I think everyone's going to have their own opinion on it, and then they do. I mean, even in the team, everyone has a pretty different opinion sometimes. The opinion that we broadcast publicly tends to be the least controversial opinion, because it's essentially an opinion. It's essentially a stance that says, regardless of our opinions, this is who we are. It's why we say when we're talking about piracy, it's why we say we're neutral on the subject, because if we take any sort of stance, whether it's pro piracy or anti piracy, that puts a much greater burden on us to do something, in one direction or another, rather than simply, making good software. So that's why we have the stance that we do. Internally, oh man, you have no idea. We have 10 million different stances on the subject. There are those who think we're not nearly aggressive enough, and those who think that we're way too aggressive, and those who think that the degree of aggressive we should be is exactly to the letter of the law. But then there's a debate about which law that is, and then I don't know. It's just a constant run down the rabbit hole to figure out the team's opinion on what the right answer is. And so we tend to stick with, there is no right answer, just leave us out of the conversation as the official standpoint. Man, I'll tell you what, I was not expecting to have this conversation on this on this playthrough. I was really expecting this playthrough to be a much calmer, fun, pleasant time. That's cool. I'm good with having whatever chat you guys want to have. Oops. Oh no. It's just been me this whole time. Alright, I'm back on the playthrough. I don't know. What other things can we talk about? I don't know. I'm always hesitant to talk that much about third-party add-ons and piracy and all that stuff because, not because I'm afraid to talk about it, but because I always end up sounding like a broken record. It always feels like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and I imagine most users get tired of hearing it after a while. Then again, it could be most people watching this have never heard me talk about it, and so maybe it doesn't sound like a broken record. Who knows? The world is a funny place, and there are an awful lot of people in it. All right, fair. Sorry, everyone not watching the chat. Gold Rush said, "I thought this was fun and a fun and cool conversation." All right, good. If you thought so, that is what we're looking for. Oh boy. Ugh. This is such a slow process. So let me tell you actually what the next step is. So right now we have cobblestone. The next step in the process is getting lava. So to do that, we have to get a crucible. An unfired crucible, which is made with porcelain clay, and porcelain clay is made with bone meal and clay, and clay is easy to get, we just need a hammer, but bone meal, how do we get bone meal? We need dust and string mesh. So again, we just need a hammer, and we need a hell of a lot of cobblestone. Okay, so let's get a hell of a lot of cobblestone. So here's how we get a hell of a lot of cobblestone. Put down a bunch. Oh, that's embarrassing. We put down a bunch of trees. And to do that, we need 3 more blocks of dirt. And then we grow all the trees all at once. I think I'm doing something wrong. I should be getting way more oak saplings than I am. Let's see. What's the other thing I wanted to talk about? How long have we been going? My clock says 54 minutes, but obviously that's not totally accurate. There are a couple minutes there where we were doing other things. But still, but we're probably sitting at, no. Okay. We're probably sitting at 45 minutes or so. The other thing I thought it would be fun to talk about is servers. And in particular, I'm curious to hear if anyone in chat has their own server set up. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I think a lot of those guys are asleep now. A lot of people in Ipswich, evidently, were watching the show the other day. But yeah, for the future, I'm seriously thinking about doing a video that's basically just a big walkthrough of how to set up your own server, sort of from the very beginning to the very end, whether you use, and what systems you use to do it. At the moment, my server is based on Windows, which is absolutely not recommended. But in the past, probably my favorite server ever was based on this Raspberry Pi 3 and a USB 3 RAID array, which the Raspberry Pi 3 couldn't, there was no benefit to the 3 part. But it was a RAID array based off of USB, and you would throw in, I think it was four disks, 4 hard drives, and then that would be it. That would do the job. Okay, let's see. 64. Now I need a hammer. Nice. All right, now we're getting somewhere. I used to have servers, but I went to external hard drives instead. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the age-old question. Oh, well, that's really interesting, actually, Gold Rush. You went to external hard drives. Does that mean you have like redundant content on each of your hard drives? And if so, do you use like some service like I forget the name of the service. There's some service out there that syncs up your watch status across instances of Kodi. I'm curious if you use that, or if your various hard drives all have their own content and you don't bother syncing any of it up. That'd be a pretty interesting thing to find out. Okay. Oh, there's a big tree. Yeah. Yeah, I've gone down that road in the past with the external hard drives. I can't decide what the best way to go with all that is. These days, I'm rocking a Plex setup where I have a Plex account, and then that's kind of useful because it lets me run Kodi, and then I use Plex Kodi Connect to connect the Plex account to Kodi, or I just use Plex's app depending on how much work I want to put into the system. But then I use Kodi's player for all of the playback and library sorting and all of that stuff. But it allows me to have the same sort of library everywhere, all in one place. I'm curious to try out Emby. I know a lot of people also argue very much in favor of Emby, and I haven't really given that much of a try. Frankly, the only reason I gave Plex a try in the first place was because, going back to the earlier conversation, Plex is one of those companies that actually came to us and said, "Hey, we'd love to bury the hatchet on any old disputes between our groups. Can we have an official Plex add-on inside of Kodi?" And when they did that, I sort of felt a personal obligation to reach back across the aisle and say, well, I guess I'll give Plex a try. And that's sort of how I got into that. And I gotta say, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty great being able to watch stuff across all my different devices. Sometimes it doesn't look the best because their thin clients aren't always amazing. But usually they do a good enough of the job. There we go. No. Once again, no. So what do you think? I don't know. There are other people watching. I'd love to get everyone's input on this. Should I do a video where all I do is just set up various servers? I mean, should I do a thing where I start out by setting up a UPnP server, and an SMB server, and then I go through this process of installing Plex and also installing Emby, and kind of not saying which one's best, because frankly I don't feel like I'm qualified to make that decision. But at the very least, saying, which ones are easy to set up and which ones are hard, and why each thing is the way it is. Would that be a video anybody would be interested in watching? Let's see. Vibe Gaming. Are you a sad tomato? That's a good profile picture, buddy. That's awesome. And also, sup to you, my friend. Did that might have come off as overly white. Let's see here. Move some stuff around. For some reason I don't have any dirt. I think that would be pretty fun. I think putting together a series of videos like that would be a good time. I might do that, in fact. Dark oak. Grow dark oak. Vibe X Gaming. Tell me, are you a cord cutter guy, or did you just get here because of the word Minecraft Sky Factory? Oh, good. I should. All right. Yeah, I'll do that. Boy, I'll have to figure out what the name of that server was that I used. This is not working at all for some reason. Maybe you need more than one sapling. All right, we'll put that away from now. Yeah, I will. But not tomorrow, though. So, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but I have this sort of new plan. My attempt to revitalize this channel goes something like this. What I want to do is, at least once a week, have some sort of longer form thing. And that's, I'll tell you what, it's been falling apart so far. It has not been working the way I was hoping it would. It's really hard to get people, to take time out of their day, frankly, to interview with and do that kind of thing. But that may not be a problem. What I could do, oh wait, I didn't finish my plan. So I'm going to do a longer video earlier in the week, and then a shorter video that's, like an actual edited video, sort of like the guides and walkthroughs that you see on the channel, near the end of the week. And I've already got a plan for this week for the shorter video, which will be coming out tomorrow, probably, or Friday. But maybe if I can wrestle up the necessary hardware and software, I'll do a full guide on how to set up a server on a Pi next week. It'll be my long tutorial or long walkthrough. It might not be a great video. To be perfectly honest, it might not be a great video because the server software on Pis these days can be pretty hit or miss. But yeah, I'll do it. It could be pretty fun. And they're really, once they're working, they work really well. Like and they're super low power, so there's never any reason to turn it off. So yeah, we'll do that. And I guess, so we're just crossing the hour mark right now, and I'm kind of in a good place. I still need... Yeah, it's going to be quite a while before I reach the Stone Age on this. So maybe tomorrow morning I'll keep going with this one. But I think we're going to stop now for this video. And we'll continue the game tomorrow, and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. But next week, I guess probably on Tuesday, you can expect sometime around, I would say now or 2 hours from now, either a big long walkthrough on servers or a Yeah. A big long walkthrough on servers or an interview. I swear I've got it lined up for the past 2 weeks, and I just can't get him, uh, you know, on the show. But I think this week is the week it'll happen. So we'll plan on that. And hit or miss nature. I figured it might push your boundaries. I don't know what boundaries. I might have lost track of what you're talking about there, Gold Rush. Are we talking about the piracy stuff and the DRM stuff? If so, that's cool. Like I said, I love talking about that stuff. I just always worry that people don't love hearing about it. Um, and it's sunrise now, which is a perfect time to call it a day. So let's see. Pop out of here. Shoot over to here. So thanks for watching, guys. Once again, I said at the beginning and I'll say it again now. If you I'm going to keep doing these live gaming streams if you like them. And I'm going to keep posting them on the channel as gaming videos. If you like those and you want me to keep doing that, say so in the comments. If you don't, if you only want the videos that are actually posted in the channel, that aren't live, to be podcast style videos or how-tos or reviews, like it's been for the past few years, then say that. Whatever. Just leave a comment and let me know what you think, and I'll kind of take it all into consideration. And as always, all my stuff is up on the top bar. Once again, nobody has become a Patreon donor, but if you are the first one, I will absolutely say your name on the next channel, unless you ask me not to. Or excuse me, on the next video, unless you ask me not to. And I think that does it. Yeah, I think that does it. Thanks VibeX Gaming and Gold Rush 1 for some great conversations. Thanks also, guy whose name I 100% will not be able to even begin to pronounce. But I think it was in Russian or some sort of thing. Also for watching, and for everybody else who didn't comment, feel free at any time to chime in. That's what we're here for. And in the meantime, once again, hit like, subscribe, all that nonsense that all the YouTube people say, and I'll catch you around.